What is going on, FA Nation? John Bebe here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Preview Show. We are looking at the 8-game main slate for Wednesday. They got a 4-game early slate, so those of you who like some day baseball, you can get in our Discord, you can get your questions answered. We'll help you out with your lineups. We're previewing the 8-game main slate for this one here, James. Interesting turn through the rotation for this slate. There are some okay starting matchups here. There's some mostly not great starting matches on this board. It's a better offensive day, I'll say. I have an idea of probably where the chalk pitching will be on said slate here. But we appreciate you all tuning in. Those of you who are new, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Free way to support the work we do here on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. We go position by position here. We break it down all for you. What are your thoughts looking at pitching on this one here, James?
Well, by breaking it down, we will not be dancing. Neither one of us. So
no, I did not pick out my cardboard.
We'll get that out of the way now. Breaking it down via the slate, not dancing. We do. I watched John Dance's wedding. We do not want to see that. And you watched me dance mine, so don't want to see that either. I mean, initially, obviously, there's not a lot of elite pitching. I do think there's some mispriced pitching here in the mid-tier that I think you and I probably thought the exact same two names that I looked at when you said chalk pitching. Obviously, that means there's going to be a lot of elite offense, and I already see one that I may or may not have that I root for that is in a really good spot. And so, we'll get into it. But initial thoughts are maybe some weather in Philly, Boston. We'll see. You have local weather reports that you could probably look at. I'm
looking at it right now. We're gonna see what this is. What this weather is about? Not much.
Not much.
As of right now, it's at nighttime. Is a 9% chance of precipitation. So I think we'll be good to go for this game here, unless the weather systems shift drastically. But at most, even it says 20% chance of precipitation on Wednesday. So
I like a specific pitcher in that game. So and we'll get into it. But I mean, Great American in play, obviously, with Cleveland in town. Cleveland's really good, but that's a pretty good matchup in terms of pitching. So not much else. Let's get into the breakdown.
Sonny Gray's your top price guy. Gets Pittsburgh Pirates. He is $10,000. He is at home. And just your standard Sonny Gray fashion here. The walks have been a bit concerning of late. Gray's not ever been this guy that has like this issue per se with as many walks, but the walks have been a problem. We always know pitch count at times can be frustrating with him. We've seen elite strikeouts this year out of him. Maybe he's giving up some walks to get more strikeouts, pitching outside the zone a little bit more. But for as good as he started the year, 5 2/3, 5 innings, 4 2/3 the last couple of starts. Not great. Colorado at home should have been a smash spot for him. 4 walks, gave up 3 runs. Are you worried about paying $10K for Sonny Gray given the recent performances out of him?
You had a chance to do the thing, and you had a chance to do the thing because you realize you rhymed on the first 2, and then you realize you could have went play there and really just drop some bars. And I even saw you. I almost saw you contemplating it in your brain.
I didn't have the cipher going, so I couldn't
Sorry, I should. As soon as I heard the first bar dropped, I should have just started just beatboxing or something. I'm definitely concerned. Pittsburgh is obviously not a great offense against right-handed pitching, but they do have a lot of power. And specifically, O'Neal Cruz has all of his power against right-handed pitching. Brian Reynolds is pretty good against righties, and they have some interesting bats against righties, but I don't like the walks and I don't like the pitch count. So anytime you start talking, for example, John, I think this is a perfect way to describe it. Before Brian Wu was scratched on Tuesday slate, nobody cared about Brian Wu not throwing more than 85 pitches because he doesn't walk anyone.
Right.
So Brian Wu got through 6 innings and 4 straight starts with 85 pitches being his max and only going over 75 once.
I was going to say, 260 pitch outings there.
That's the difference when you're talking about someone with a pitch count, where you have Brian Wu, who doesn't walk anyone, versus Sonny Gray going deep into counts. There's a lot of walks, there's a lot of strikeouts, and you're like, oh, well, suddenly he's not getting out of the fifth again. So, yeah, I'm just like universally out kind of on Sonny Gray, unless like everything just aligns perfectly. I just don't have interest at 10K.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way with you. I think ownership here is going to go to Bryce Miller. Going up against the White Sox. Again, Miller got roughed up big time in his last start against Kansas City, but prior to that, shut out the Angels over 6 innings. Again, we know what the talent can be with this kid. He's got good strikeout upside. He's had again, not to hold it against him, but Baltimore, New York, Houston went on a run. Like, he didn't have always the most easiest of matchups during these recent stretches. White Sox should be that easier matchup. You've pointed out plenty, though. The home runs are starting to come for Chicago. So, we got the 3 homer game allowed to the Yankees there. If Miller isn't able to keep it in the ballpark, then the runs are going to come against him. But if you're looking at these top guys, I mean, Lodolo versus Cleveland is Pivetta versus Philadelphia, I don't want any real part of there for me personally. Miller to me feels like the guy you'd go to in this tier.
Completely agree. And like you mentioned it, Cleveland is so good against left-handed pitching. And it's in Great American. Like both those things do not bode well. I think Pivetta obviously has a ceiling. We've seen it. The strikeouts for Pivetta are back, right? He has 8+ in 4 of his last 5. Yeah. But when you don't get the strikeouts and you get the Milwaukee, I mean, this is Nick Pivetta's whole career. It's like he goes on these stretches where he looks, you're like, whoa, that's the top prospect we thought years ago. And then he throws up a stinker versus Milwaukee where he can't get out of the 4th inning.
And now he's got Philly. I mean,
so like has a ceiling if you're playing multiple lineups. Yeah. But if you're a one lineup guy, like you're playing Bryce Miller in that spot.
Right.
I completely agree. It is, you mentioned it though, like 10 home runs his last 10 starts, 12 home runs on the year, and almost a home run per start. Obviously not great when the White Sox are doing that one thing. They're hitting home runs. But obviously, like, there's a lot of strikeout appeal. The White Sox still rank last in basically every category against right-handed pitching. So the data suggests Miller's the play. I'd rather play him than Bybee.
Yeah,
200 less. I know Bybee's been really consistent lately, but again, he's pitching in a pretty tough park, and he struggles against lefties. And the Reds have a ton of lefties, so it's Miller in this tier for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. I will say, obviously, Pivetta, with his recent run and the high strikeouts, he is holding lefties and righties down pretty well this year. He's got a high strikeout rate. He's got an over 11 strikeout per 9 against righties and near 10 K per 9 against lefties and all those things. It's just, I'm very skeptical of his continued dominance, I guess, there. But, you mentioned it in multi-entry lineups for sure. The other guy on that side of the matchup, though, is where you're looking to go. Like Christopher Sanchez. We like Christopher Sanchez here. The Red Sox strike out more than anybody in baseball against left-handed pitching here. 8K for Christopher Sanchez here as well.
Yeah, and you know what? If you're going to ever use a pitcher in Boston, it's this guy. It's this type of pitcher, right? Nothing but ground ball outs. I mean, he has double-digit ground ball outs in 3 of his last 4. 2 of which have 14 of his outs have come on the ground. And he does have some strikeout stuff. It's not always consistent, but 4 times this year, he's given us at least 7 strikeouts. And if you're talking about the spot to strike people out, it is the Boston matchup. So I definitely like really everything about Christopher Sanchez. It's not even just like the strikeouts. I mean, Boston's lower, 22nd in ISO, 18th in OPS against lefties. Like they just rank bottom half of the league in every category. And then the strikeouts are the cherry on top.
Agreed. Moving our way down a little bit, do you find any interest in any of the value plays on the slate? Again, it's 8 games and we're hitting the back end of rotations here. There was a stretch where we looked at Jose Soriano. We know Arizona much better against lefties than righties. Some of the peripheral numbers in Soriano aren't spectacular, but I don't know. Do you like any of the guys basically under Sanchez, which is a wide range, but no one's in great spots here?
John, this is tough. I would say like there is a potential to like punt Jonathan Cannon if you're like desperate. only because their strikeout appeal. And I know Seattle hasn't struck out as much lately. They've actually improved a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone kind of expected that because like how are they this bad? Like including Julio Rodriguez and stuff. Obviously, last outing was his best,
Yeah.
and he didn't start. Um, like he actually had a save, recorded a save in that game. He's obviously stretched out. He had
Yeah.
102 pitches. Tampa Bay, Minnesota games were brutal, but like only because of their strikeout upside. Cannon's been a pretty good strikeout guy. It's just hard to like. Soriano's fine. Garrett, I don't like. I think you and I both
Yeah,
like
we'll probably like more
Mets.
Mets. Yeah, we'll probably like more Mets here.
Definitely like Mets. Poteet's been really solid for the Yankees, but you saw he doesn't always pose like a lot of strikeout appeal, and Kansas City just doesn't strike out against righties,
Yeah.
and they're also just a good offense. So,
I'll say the one thing he'll have going for him again is win equity here.
yes,
Yankees are going to be just monster favorites over Daniel Lynch
yes,
in the Royals. They already jumped out to a 2-0 lead on Tuesday slate. So if he does go and give you kind of these starts with the win, then you're getting 19 and 20 fantasy points. At Cleveland, at San Francisco, now he's at Kansas City. Sure, I think for win equity and the lack of value, you could probably see maybe people go to Poteet, but Kansas City lineup can be tough. What are your thoughts on Peterson against Miami?
yeah. I mean, that's a little bit interesting because he's been good in the first two starts, and obviously Miami's been very anemic against left-handed pitching, and by that I mean they're dead last in basically every offensive category. So, you know what? Everything I said previously, it all roads lead to David Peterson. I think.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, they don't strike out against lefties. It's just a 20% strikeout rate, but 220 batting average, and 099 ISO against left-handed pitching, and
is
they're
that bad?
over 263. I mean, like, they're
Doesn't
they're
seem good.
basically bunting up there against left-handed pitching, right? Like,
Basically.
so again, there isn't going to be a lot of strikeouts here. You saw he just 6 2/3 2 earned, got a win, and only managed 13.6 fantasy points against Washington. So like, maybe he doesn't give up the earned run, and that's 17 fantasy points. Like that's kind of what you're hoping for here. But at 6,300 on kind of a smaller slate, like that 14 fantasy points might be enough. For your SP2.
So like, here's where I think David Peterson probably has a little higher of a ceiling, right? Through 11 innings this year, he has the obvious 3.8 Ks per nine.
Yeah.
He has been over a strikeout per inning in 3 straight seasons prior.
Sure.
So like, there's something coming for him.
He faced the Dodgers. He faced the Nationals, right? Two teams that don't necessarily K a ton. I know the Washington this year has been striking out more than they have in the past, but they also hit lefties relatively well. So maybe against a team that doesn't hit lefties well, Peterson gets more Ks. So for me, I kind of liked Peterson down here as well, but with Poteet, I don't know. I'm not going to go to Bailey Falter. I know he shut out Toronto. I know he shut out the Cubs. I know he's had some decent outings this year. I know the Cardinals haven't been great. I can't bring myself to go to Bailey Falter, though.
No.
Just can't do it. And that's it. We're not going to go anybody else here pitching.
No, we're not.
Definitely not. Catcher, find the cheapest guy, plug him in where you can. That's probably good. Herrera versus Falter, 35. Alvarez against Garrett probably looks pretty good there. Can go either of those plays. Trevino versus Lynch or Wells versus Lynch, who's ever in the lineup. For the Yankees plays, I'm good. Find the cheap guy, put him in the lineup.
Yep, agreed.
First base. What are you doing?
First base. Well, obviously, you can play either dot. I'm really looking forward to the day that they force us to play Ohtani like only in the outfield because this first base stuff is nonsense. But obviously, either Dodger is elite. I think Pete Alonso at 51. He's been really good of late. Obviously, has a long history of hitting lefties. Obviously, the power is great from Alonso. So I would go there. Pasquantino has been a lot better of late. And although it didn't come to fruition in Cody Poteet's last start against the Dodgers, because he was just really good in general, or did what he was supposed to do, during his MLB career, lefty power has given him problems. So Pasquantino from the left side has a decent amount of power. So in this like upper tier, it's the Dodgers for me. You can obviously play Bryce Harper whenever you want. In Fenway is a pretty good spot for him, and then like Alonso Pasquantino.
Okay. In the guys under $4,000, does Nathaniel Lowe against Walker Buehler interest you at all? I mean, we've liked Buehler, but we haven't gotten the returns out of Buehler yet this year.
We also just haven't gotten anything out of Nathaniel Lowe either. It's been a very disappointing season after a really encouraging one. So
yeah, I mentioned it because again, small sample size. Lefties against Buehler this year: 373 average, 620 slug, 440 WOBA. He's allowing 2.1 homers per 9. He's got almost a 24% home run the fly ball rate anyways this year. So just Buehler's having some troubles, lefties especially.
Yeah, I mean the numbers are what they are. Like if you wanted to go there, if Buehler can't get lefties out, then sure, I think that's a good shot, John.
Sure. What else are you looking at first?
I will say Goldschmidt 41 is a little bit interesting. Didn't mention him above 4K, but
sure.
The Falter matchup is pretty good. I mean, you could play if you do think the White Sox cheap home run. You have two guys right here. Gavin Sheets gets the split advantage. Andrew Vaughn, $3,400. I think either one of those White Sox to be contrarian. If you again want a cheap home run, I think either one of them are fine. LeMahieu, first and third eligible. I expect him to play over Anthony Rizzo again here, especially with a lefty on the mound. So.
Yeah.
LeMahieu at 33, that's a cheap way to get Yankees.
Sure.
I mean, especially now that Soto's back in the lineup and you have him and Judge back in the lineup, I mean, you need to find and you want to stack Yankees, you need to find cheap. And then how about Tyler Locklear? He was called up by the Mariners the other day. He's first and second eligible. He was pretty good at Double-A, and then he was fine at Triple-A. But with France on the IL, I expect Locklear to get an extended look right now. So I don't hate I know it's a righty spot, but I don't hate a starting first baseman.
Sure. I'm with you there. $2,200. That works. Moving on over to second base. Semion's up at the top. Marte, Stott against Pivetta, your 5K guys. Jimenez against a lefty you've actually talked about. He's better against lefties. Lodolo at $4,800. Where are you going at second here?
So Semien has been dominant against lefties. So, and you just mentioned it's been one of those things for Buehler that he's also struggled against lefties. So probably not there. I don't have a ton of interest. Like Stott at 5K is interesting because the dual threat ability, he just hasn't really flashed the power yet this year. I don't think I'd want to pay 5K for him. Honestly, Jimenez, Gleyber Torres has been okay lately. I know the average doesn't suggest it, but he has hits in all but like one of his last 10 games or so. Yeah.
What a fall off for him.
Right? It has been super bad. He is very loud amongst Yankees fans too, because he's due for a new contract and he's not going to get it. Especially when you have to allocate so much to Soto. How do you expect them to also pay Gleyber? Right. I don't hate it though at 4,200. I said it the last time Daniel Lynch was on the show. Or on the slate. I told you that the regression was due, and the Mariners put up like a 9 spot in the first 2 innings, and that was the Mariners, right? This is the best offense in baseball. So I want as many Yankees as I can possibly get into my lineup.
Okay. If you're not on Gray, I don't mind Nick Gonzalez. Again, if you just think Gray's going to have some trouble, like Nick Gonzalez has been pretty good there. Other value plays working your way down. I mean, there's not really a ton. I mentioned this to Howard and he like scoffed at me, but like Jose Iglesias is still hitting. Yes. And has hit lefties in his career. He's got Braxton Garrett there at 3,200.
I don't know. I mean, I remember when he was signed, we were doing the show, and you looked it up, and you were like, he's hit lefties like a bunch of different years. Like it's not just like a 1 year thing. Like he has continuously hit lefties. So if he's going to continue to hit lefties, then dude, we like the Mets against left-handed pitching.
We do.
They have a lot of their lineup earlier in the year versus lefties is not what their lineup is now. They added JD Martinez, they added Mark Vientos, they added Jose Iglesias since the beginning of the year started, right? Yep. And all three of those guys hit lefties really well. So
you see Iglesias here. He's hitting 409 with a 935 OPS.
Yeah.
Against lefties this year, it's all there. 467 average. He is 7 for 15 against lefties with 2 doubles.
Those are good numbers.
It's just what he's doing. He's 2 for 9 against righties. He's 7 for 15 against lefties. He's a glove man that hits lefties, and that's just like even at his age in his career. So the numbers are the numbers. We're a sucker for the scoreboard. I can't argue what the page is telling me. So no matter what your perception is of Jose Iglesias, the man sees a baseball the size of a softball when it's coming out of a lefty. So happy to get him in there. Any other second baseman for you?
Dude, the Mets, to our point about lefties, now 6th in OPS overall. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee if I shrunk that sample over the last 2 months, they'd be like right up there with the Angels and Yankees, probably Baltimore, probably like all of those teams. Nothing else unless we saw Xavier Edwards lead off or something. Sure. I'm assuming the Red Sox could start Jamie Westbrook here with a lefty on the mound as well, but that's all pretty low floor place.
Third base has Ramirez versus a lefty at $6,400 and Lodolo versus Jose Ramirez there. Probably would be the only spend up I would go to. Devers versus Sanchez, not really. Bohm versus Pivetta, Michael Garcia versus Poteet, Renifo versus a righty, Candelario versus Bibby. Josh Smith might be my next guy if you're not in on Walker Buehler. Again, Buehler's struggling against lefties. Smith hitting 41 at 4,100, hitting the middle of that Rangers lineup.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. It's J-Ram at the top, and then all the way down to Smith Arenado for me as well.
Sure. Yeah, Arenado versus Falter at 4K.
But all roads lead back to Mark Vientos at 30.
That's fair. Yep, got RBI double to lead off the game tonight. So get Braxton Garrett in there. That's a good play. Berger obviously has a lot of power against lefties. He's got left first base, third base eligibility. If you're not playing Peterson, you can get that. But that's it. There's nothing else down here at third.
Oh, as well though, Cabrera hits lefties well for the Yankees.
Sure.
He'll bat ninth if you do a wraparound stack with Volpe, Judge, Soto.
Okay. At shortstop, I mean, I kind of just want to jump down to that tier. Volpe and Lindor at 47-46. It's nothing to take away from the guys up at the top, but both of Volpe against a lefty, Lindor versus a lefty.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You can obviously play any of those guys, but I think both Volpe and Lindor are top dogs, and even to a lesser extent, Cruz Smith, that just four guys in a row that all have split advantages here. Lindor, slow start against lefties, just casually hitting 300 now against lefties, like we always expected he would.
Lewis could be an interesting spot. I mean, Mason Wynn's going to lead off against Falter at 38.
Yep.
Could definitely get that. David Hamilton's lefty, but I mean, this dude has been on fire.
Hitting second for Boston, nightly.
He's got 13 stolen bases already. He's kind of crazy. Ceddanne Rafaela, same thing. There was a list of I was a Red Sox beat writer, obviously, but it was rookie rankings in the American League, and 1-2 was all Hamilton and Rafaela in every category for American League hitters. They're just whatever it is. Those are the two best hitting rookies in the American League right now. So if you're not in on Sanchez, Ceddanne Rafaela is there at 3,400. Perdomo came back for Arizona. He's $3,400. DeJong, we know power, just power. Miller gives up home runs, could get there.
5 home runs in his last 10 games, dude. He's hitting nothing but home runs.
But home runs. Anything else for you?
Any
other comment?
No.
Okay. Outfield. Judge Soto, tap dancing on Sanchez, on Lynch here.
Judge Soto are probably going to have very, very solid games. Yes.
I still can't bring myself to pay for David Fry. He's still been
that's
good.
Insane. It's that the price is.
But it's just I mean, it's just crazy. You want to go Ohtani versus Gray? That's fine too. Like, won't fight you on that. Yep. What's your next go to here?
Next go to, I would say next go to Corby and Jock are pretty good at 44, 45 respectively. Lefties do hit Tanner Bybee, so Friedel and Fraley. Sure. Starling Marte will hit 5th, and he has been awesome offensively, specifically. So like the Mets stack is very interesting because like there's a lot of they're very deep against left-handed pitching. You go in a lot of different directions, but obviously Marte hitting 5th in front of Vientos and behind Alonso was like super appealing. So 4,200 for Starling is a really good play. Same thing goes for JD Martinez at 4,100. Or actually, Martinez hit 4th.
Yeah,
Marte hit 5th. That's what it was. Both those Mets are really in a good spot. If you're not in on Sanchez, Rough Snyder hits lefties really well. He's hit lefties like continuously. Our boy Jake McCarthy has finally started to turn up.
I was gonna say McCarthy's up there, but Corbin Carroll and Jock Peterson still also kind of like, like, you know, maybe he's starting to come around. I mean, look at some of these recent games. You know,
he's just so good. How has he been this bad? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. I like those calls. Tyler Freeman's $3,800 against a lefty and Lodolo, but I mean, I think Lodolo is a good pitcher. I just don't know if this is the right spot for him.
Agreed. I agree.
Let's see. Anything else? Luke Raley versus Cannon, 36.
Yep. Him and Haniger are both like Haniger's had a couple big games lately. I think both those guys are solid plays.
Okay. Yeah, Melendez down here at 32.
Haven Smith is he's optioned again.
All
this guy does is
I know. Oh, I hit 350. Well, you're going back down. They called up Drew Waters, activated Drew Waters, called him up, whatever. Last year that guy he had moments, right? He had some power, he had some speed.
Yep. Yeah, both. He has both. Yep,
sure. $3,200. I know he's in the lineup tonight as we're recording here on Tuesday. We'll see if he gets anything going there. That's probably it, though. So, all right, well, let's get a lineup going. Do we do Miller at 9K? Do we
Miller Sanchez? Probably that was probably our.
Okay.
That was probably the duo.
Catcher, we would just spend down. I think we just agreed to just do whatever Yankee it was. We'll plug Wells in for now, and we'll go to Trevino.
I assume it would be Trevino just with the lefty on the mound, but
okay, sure. $4,200 first baseman. Or across the fields here. We like Vientos at third, right? So
Vientos at third. Lindor at short. Do you want to just do?
Yeah, that works. Lindor.
Unless you want a Volpe.
No, that's fine. Second base.
Well, are we spending up on Judge?
Yeah,
I assume Judge. If we need $400, we can just go to Soto.
That's fine. First base.
LeMahieu, 33.
Just go full send on the.
I mean,
I'm fine with it. Let's just rip it. We'll go Iglesias here, and now we have 4,300 for 2 outfielders.
Daniel Lynch is not
JD 41. Just go full on Mets Yankees.
Dude, I mean, I'm with it. New York stack here. I know it hurts your soul, but
5 stack Mets. Marte, Martinez, Lindor, Vientos, Iglesias.
I'm a 5-stack guy.
So. Judge. What?
Dude, I'm a 5-stack guy. So if we were rolling 5-stack, I'm down.
All right. Listen, it's an example lineup. James and I will be back live at 5 p.m. Eastern time with all the official lineup news, notes, and weather information. So we'll re-rack this lineup, but at least for now, we're going to New York here with our lineup. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Get notified whenever we go live here on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. We appreciate all the support. Good luck, everybody, with your research, and we'll catch you again at 5 p.m. Eastern time.